All right, so what I want to do today is, in this piece, I want to build a kind of poem titled Untitled, Death Completely Accounted For and Entirely Explained by Phony Suicide Note. And in building this, the method will differ significantly from the method that was employed in the building of Untitled, Death Completely Accounted For and Entirely Explained by Phony Suicide Note 1, in that the building of that particular poem was largely conventional. I used a creative imagination in a somewhat ironic manner and created a poem filled with a lot of what I consider to be, really poor rhymes and references to a few select words. The most significant word referred to was Jesus, and the reason for the selection of that particular word is because the larger context for the building of this first piece, Untitled, Death Completely Accounted For and Entirely Explained by Phony Suicide Note 1, the larger context of that poem and the building of that phony suicide note, or poem as phony suicide note, or ironic poem as phony suicide note, was that, I had been drawing comparisons between the death of Jimi Hendrix and an incident that occurred around 1980 in my own life, in which I had experienced an intoxication overdose, and had a similar period of unconsciousness and unresponsiveness, similar to Hendrix's, and I had experienced a similar physical reaction to the overdose that Hendrix experienced, and unlike Hendrix, emergency services were not called in my case, and also unlike Hendrix, I survived that incident. When I awoke, I found myself alone and somewhere that I hadn't been when I initially lost consciousness, and I have partial memory of some of the incidents that may or may not have occurred in that period of unconsciousness, and so those similarities and the fact that it seems to me that the important issue in analyzing the death of Jimi Hendrix is that I have organized my reading of it around the idea of overdetermination, and specifically the overdetermination of the cause of Jimi Hendrix's death, which I attribute to the racism of both American society and society abroad, including London, where he died, and by overdetermination I mean that there are multiple causes that led to Jimi Hendrix's death, and that although there were multiple causes, most of those in that set of multiple causes have something at least to do with racism, right? So a depression resulting from the toll of events that one suffers when one is marginalized or oppressed by a society, in any number of terms, and in Hendricks' case, in racial terms, and a lack of care, motivated either unconsciously or semi-consciously, by similar motivations, and I don't want to talk too much about all of the connectiveness in that area, because we've gone over that quite extensively already. But anyway, so this project of writing these poetic suicide notes began with both similarities and differences in a moment of Hendricks' life story and a moment of my life story, and also my contention that this text that was allegedly found and first assigned the descriptor suicide note, and later identified as something other than a suicide note, is questionably belongs to Hendricks et al. And the reason that I've argued that this doesn't even seem to be Hendricks' writing is because none of the imagery in it or the references belong to anything similar that Hendricks has ever written, and he never refers to Jesus or the Bible, or the only desert that I know that Hendricks refers to is the Arizona desert in Voodoo Chow. And if you read that poem, the references are clearly like American landscape, not biblical landscape, and they belong to a whole different semantic and semiotic domain than this desert. Even this word doesn't particularly resound with the type of imagery and lyricism that one finds in Hendricks' writing. So I had imagined that maybe I hadn't survived this particular moment in my life, and then what kind of a poem I might have left behind. And so, like I said, the first version was written in a conventional way, and I wanted to try a different method this time. So I'm going to use Hendricks, or this supposed text of Hendricks, which I don't really believe is, and I'm going to plagiarize it and maybe collage elements of it. I'm just going to do this using a text program on the computer and copy and paste. So okay, so all right, let's see. So this is going to take the first line, and I'll change it around. Unfortunately, everything's going to be underlined. That might be okay, or we don't have to be systematic about including any particular words in this one, as we have a different strategy. So I'll try to mask the fact that this is all plagiarized, so that if there's any question that it was an actual suicide note or not, people won't point to the Jimi Hendrix note and say, well, that was just copied and pasted from Jimi Hendrix phony suicide note. So this isn't even really a phony suicide note. So all right, so we'll just And it doesn't have to be, anagrammatically perfect. That's probably too much. Sometimes if you overload the application, it has a hard time processing your request. Well, all right, so in this one, I had done a piece recently where I talked about Alan Capro changing all of my she's to he's. So we can do that here and eliminate some of the letters. What else do we want to get rid of? Well, let's try that. Still seem to have too much. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of these as well. Okay, so All right, so this line, since it's repeated from up here, we can use that structure and just repeat our line. Okay, probably too much information. We'll go back. All right, we'll get rid of, in this case, we'll get rid of the he. See if there's anything else we can get rid of. Try that. Still too much information. All right, we'll get rid of the she again. Oh, there we go. All right. Wow, this is... Now it's interesting because I hadn't really kept rhyme in mind, but some rhyme occurred just almost accidentally here. And we can make it interesting. We can put it in couplet form. I'll make this one a little shorter. I'm only going to begin with Henry's. No one really wants to read long suicide notes. They get bored with them. So let's see how many. Maybe we can make this one a sonnet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we need a few more rhymes. We need 3 more lines. You can make it look more like a sonnet. Sometimes just the visual appearance will fool people. All right, so we only really need let's get rid of the she's in honor of Alan Capro. Do a little bit of reference to Shakespeare. All right, that looks odd, so we'll make it look less odd. Let's see if that's a sonnet yet. Looks like a sonnet. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so now the problem that we have in this method or methodology, or this really, it's really a method, not a methodology. The methodology would be that we use different methods to compose different kinds of poems, and that the performance that we're doing now is an explication of such methods. That would be the methodology. But the method is merely the strategy of construction that we're using to form this phony suicide note. So let me go ahead and read it and see if it sounds good, and then I'll explain what the problem with this method is going to be. Okay, the story of my life. Pain so extreme to pay after I cried or hummed the wrong way. You use these Blakean ampersands. See, one of the reasons that I use the Blakean ampersands is because of my dysgraphia, and it saves me when I'm writing by hand 2 letters that I don't have to form. And deemed a maniac. It'd be nice if this beyond rhymed. Now it rhymes, but now you've got this line that looks wrong. A lot of it has to do with appearance. Still looks wrong. I want it to look good. Yeah. All right, that's pretty good. All right, so the story of my life, pain so extreme to pay after I cried or hummed the wrong way and deemed a maniac by society. The story of my life won't kill me, above like below, no cross to carry in the middle of heaven. No burning sand in the desert of the eternal such and so, to be no questions or not to be questions. There should be, there should not be such beautiful lives. Beautiful is interesting this way, but this is unconventional beauty, and here's conventional beauty. Let's be conventional. All right, so as I was saying, the problem with this method in this particular construct is that I don't have a printer, and it would be odd to leave. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be so odd. I don't know, how this stuff is done, today, but it seems to me that it would be odd to leave a suicide note in the form of a file, of a Word file, that isn't signed, and because of the method used, doesn't really have any stylistic markers that refer to me as a writer. So other than, the quirkiness of it. So I think it would make more sense for this note to be signed, and I have an idea for that. But in order to sign it, I don't know really how to do that on the computer. So I need to have a physical copy. So I'm going to have a problem because I don't have a printer attached to my computer. Now my wife Lori has a printer attached to her computer, so I may be able to email this to her and she may be able to print it out if she's not too busy, but let me go see if she can do that. Lori, do you think you could help me with my suicide note?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so I'm going to send you my suicide note as an email, and then do you think you could just print it out?
You got it.
Thanks. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to copy and paste this into an email. Now, I don't know how much of my email account I want to give away. So while I do that, we'll focus on the ads that are provided for this Jimi Hendrix Phony suicide note. I don't really want to give everyone all of my, oops. Gonna have to be a little bit more clever about how we do this. Doesn't seem to be wanting me to compose. Here we go. Okay, so without giving up too much information, here's the thing, and there's the header. There may be some delay in Lori's receipt of this. Oh, we'll see. All right, I just sent it to you. You may be getting it or you may not. Sometimes for whatever reason, my email doesn't go through. We'll go back to some of the advertisements. All right, thanks, hon. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, like, you know, what font or anything that you print it as, or as long as, you know, just the whole text is in one page. It's interesting that the ads aren't changing now.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so to verify, you know, that this is actually a suicide note and that I wrote it, I'm gonna sign it. And so I need something to sign it on. I usually use this as the sort of artificial clipboard. And I thought, since it also relates to another part of my phenomenology of dysgraphia and an account of the social experience of dysgraphia, that I would write my signature backwards, because we've done a number of backwards signature pieces that relate to the experiences of dysgraphia. Now, this note doesn't explicitly identify dysgraphia as one of the reasons or as part of the rationale for the suicide, but I'm gonna use this opportunity to tie the backwards signature to that idea. All right, so this will be the way that I draw my. Actually, it looks better than the way that I draw forward on this one. Oh, except I made a mistake here. That's pretty good. I think anyone would believe that's me. All right. So then we need to find some reasonable place to leave the note. Let's see. That looks okay, but I think we need a more significant marker, maybe, I don't know. It needs to be darker. Maybe I have a different pen. Yeah, this will do much better. Okay. Yeah, that's good.